Hello, welcome back to another Sunday School Bible class. Today's lesson is titled, The Tabernacle and Priesthood. We have learned how at Mount Sinai, on their way to the Promised Land, God gave Moses the law which contained a group of civil laws to keep the community safe from troublemakers, thieves, and criminals, as well as a group of religious laws to instruct people on how to worship God. This agreement was called the Mosaic Covenant. We had also learned that while Moses was up in the mountain receiving these commandments, the Israelites had committed many sins, among which was worshiping a golden calf they made, which is called the sin of idolatry. In today's lesson, we're going to learn about the religious laws God gave Moses for the Israelites. God commanded that a special group of Israelites that he chose were to be ordained as priests, which would be the only ones who would offer sacrifice to God. God also commanded that a special tent-like structure called a tabernacle was to be set up where he would dwell, and the people would bring their sacrifices to this tabernacle, and the priests were to offer the sacrifices to God. The special tabernacle was to be built to the exact instructions and according to all the details that Moses saw in the vision of this tabernacle when he was up in the mountain talking to God. The tabernacle was to be surrounded by a white linen curtain fence about 7 feet high that had only one opening, one doorway. The opening, or the doorway, was the place that everyone had to come to enter the courtyard surrounding the tabernacle. In this courtyard were two objects. The first object was a brazen or bronze altar where animal sacrifices were cooked after they were killed. The second object in this courtyard was a silver laver that had 2 bowls of water. The priests had to wash their feet and their hands in those bowls of water before they entered the tabernacle that had 2 rooms. The first room was called the Holy Place, and only the priests were allowed to enter this room. In this room were 3 objects: a golden candlestick, a table with special bread for the priests, and the altar of incense which smelled nice and pleased God. These objects were all covered in gold. There was a big thick curtain or veil that separated the holy place from the next room that was called the Most Holy Place. In this second room, not even the priests were allowed to go into. There was only one man that was allowed to go into this room, and that was the high priest. This high priest, who had his own specially designed robes, went into the most holy place only once a year. In this most holy place was a golden box called the Ark of the Covenant that contained the 10 commandments that God had personally written on the tables of stone. On top of this box was a special lid called the mercy seat, on which the high priest would sprinkle the blood of the sacrifice to remove the sins of the Israelites. This special lid had angels made of gold stretching their wings over the box, which was the only thing in the most holy place. God commanded that the Israelites were to contribute to the materials to build this tabernacle. This tent-like structure was to be set up every time the Israelites would encamp at a different place on their journey to the Promised Land, and it was to always be set up right in the middle of the camp because God wanted to be right in the middle of his people. When God wanted the Israelites to start moving again, this structure had to be taken down and all its different parts carried while they traveled to the next stop. Only the priests, which were given special robes, and their relatives called Levites were allowed to transport all the pieces of the tabernacle, but they were only allowed to carry these pieces by poles on their shoulders. The most holy object was the Ark of the Covenant that had to be covered with curtains, carried on poles, and never touched by hands, not even the hands of the priests. If the priests touched the Ark of the Covenant, they would die. It was a great privilege to be chosen to be a priest. But with the privilege came great responsibility. God is holy, and priests had to be very clean and live very good lives. They also had to follow all of the instructions regarding their work in the tabernacle very carefully, being sure to do it exactly as God said to do it. There was one instance where Moses' two nephews, named Nadab and Abihu, who were priests, did not follow God's instructions but decided to do things their own way, and both of them died. Because the priests were to work in this tabernacle all the time, they could not get jobs like everyone else and make money to buy food and the like. God commanded that all the people were to give a tenth of what they would make on their jobs to the priests so that the priests would be able to live. When the people would give the priests a tenth of what they made to the priests, it was called paying tithes. Today we don't have to worship God with animal sacrifices in a tabernacle with priests because God did away with that system after Jesus died on the cross. However, we do have to buy a church building and pay for it along with all the bills such as electricity, water, insurance, heat, air conditioning, books, vans, robes for the choir, and all the other materials and services for the people to use when they come to church. Therefore, today, people who attend church still bring money to pay for all of the material and service and should be mindful of the house of God and those who work in the house of God so that it is comfortable and clean. In our upcoming lessons, we will learn what happened to the Israelites on their way to the Promised Land. See you next time. Bye-bye.